Good morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Phil Olivera, and I have the pleasure of being the president of the New Bedford Port Society, which oversees the properties of the Seamen's Bethel and the Mariners' Home next door. Without any further ado, I would like to welcome you all to the Bethel today and introduce the mayor of our city, Mayor Jon Mitchell, to speak.
And thank you, Phil, for the complimentary coffee. I hope everybody takes advantage of that. And welcome. So I think we've got a few mics here, but I'm going to try to work my way around it. Let me begin with a reading, everybody. And this is one that you are no doubt familiar with. The town itself is perhaps the dearest to live in all New England. It is a land of oil, true enough, but not like Canaan. A land also of corn and wine. The streets do not run with milk, nor in the springtime do they pave them with fresh eggs. Yet, in spite of this, nowhere in all America will you find more patrician-like houses, parks and gardens more opulent than in New Bedford. Whence they came, how planted upon this once scraggy scoria of a country? Go and gaze upon the iron emblematical harpoons round yonder lofty mansion, and your question will be answered. Yes, all these brave houses and flowery gardens came from the Atlantic, Pacific, and Indian Oceans. One and all, they were harpooned and dragged up hither from the bottom of the sea. So observed Ishmael in chapter 6 of Moby-Dick, titled The Street. And in many ways, that particular chapter is among the most autobiographical of Moby-Dick. Melville himself was one of those bumpkins who came to New Bedford in the 1840s as a 24-year-old, looking for, as he put it in chapter 6, the gain and glory of the great whale fishery. He arrived in 1843, and it was, to be sure, a formative experience for him. Like so many others at the time, they were looking to do, in the period of the young republic, looking for something new, something exciting, something thrilling. And more than anywhere else in the new American nation, New Bedford was the place. Yankee whaling, as it was most fully expressed here in New Bedford, was the quintessential American industry, and it reflected the ambitiousness of the young republic. Understand the proposition that the men who went out to sea, many of whom are memorialized on the cenotaphs here, went out to sea to hunt the largest creatures in the ocean with hand weapons. Think about that. For years at a time, 3 to 5 years at a time, typically. By today's sensibilities, it was a crazy thing to do. But at that time, men like Melville set out to do something that was more thrilling than their daily lives on a farm or in one of America's growing cities. And so he came here, and that experience, probably more than anything else, shaped what became his opus, of course, Moby-Dick. And it is a work that is synonymous with American literature. It is the preeminent work of a literature in the English language, arguably. And it's something that's synonymous with whaling. In many ways, it is synonymous with early New Bedford. I won't profess, though I think there are plenty of folks here and plenty of folks who will be here for the marathon this weekend who can speak to this much more authoritatively than I. But it is a book that is timeless because it speaks to universal themes, timeless themes, the way that people, human beings, assign meaning to the world they live in, to conflicts in their own day and to conflicts ahead, to the way that this nation has shaped those of us everyone who went out to sea at the time and continue to go out to sea, and just the very nature of being an American. All these themes and so many more are baked into that book, and it was set here in New Bedford. My own feeling has been, long been, that New Bedford ought to proclaim its connection to Melville. Melville recognized, just as one of his contemporaries, Frederick Douglass, recognized that New Bedford was a special place in America. In many ways, America at its finest, a place that was prospering at once, but also was egalitarian in ways that eluded much of the rest of the nation, and especially the American South. And it's our being able to proclaim our connection, proclaiming our connection to Melville, I think probably should have happened 100 years ago. But there's no time like the present. And so about a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, we announced that we would invite artists to undertake that journey with us, to set about creating an image of Melville that would capture many of the elements of Moby-Dick, but also capture many of the elements of him, as well as any of the elements of New Bedford at that time and then moving forward. And so we made a call, and we were a call for artists. We do these things all the time with public art, but this one was a little bit different because it really became international in scope. Many recognized the potential to do something really interesting here, to speak to something very profound, but also something very literal, and also, from our standpoint, to exalt this city and its role in the cultural and economic history of the United States. This is what we wanted to accomplish. So we went out, and I'll add one other thing. So we went out and invited artists to come to us and propose their best. And we received some 41 applications, 41 proposals. We narrowed it. We had a search committee, who I will name in a moment, that went about, that was comprised of artists as well as historians as well as city officials, to sort of sift through all of it. And this was a hard task, because how do you pick among great proposals, right? That from people who are established, who have made their mark in the world in other places, people whose works are on display in prominent locations across the globe. So, but they did that, and they went through all 41, and they narrowed that set down to 4 finalists. What we did, what the city did, was we gave each of the 4 finalists funds, a stipend of $2,500 to refine their proposals and actually create images. And then the committee sorted through them and voted. That was the process, as it should be. But it came down to, and I will tell you who the winner was. And actually, I can say this right now. The person who emerged clearly head and shoulders above the pack, above a pack of really established artists, was Stefanie Rocknak, who I guess it's no surprise. I don't know if she's still up on the Zoom right now. I can't see it. So Stefanie Rocknak is her rendition, which we'll reveal in a moment, stood out among the rest. It stood out among the rest in terms of the way that it conveyed some of the universal themes of Moby-Dick, but also reflected the place itself that was appropriate to the setting here. And I will do the reveal in a second, but what I think I really want everybody to know is that I'm so grateful for the input of everybody who served on that committee, and I'll just go through the names very quickly. So it included Janet Barboza, and from my office, who did a great job in orchestrating the whole process here. Alexandra Copeland from the library, who's our curator of art in our library. Amy DeRoja from our tourism office. Imelda Laxon, Jim Lopes, Ann Laurel, Arthur Mata, Bruce and Phil Oliveira, Margot Saulnier, Jennifer Smith, and Dr. Robert Wallace, who's a Melville scholar. I don't know if Dr. Wallace is here, right there. Thank you very much for your input, which was invaluable. So This is in many ways, and I'll just say this, in many ways this is an act of New Bedford asserting itself. We should have the confidence to say, and I use this metaphorically, we own Melville. Melville helped put New Bedford on the map. Melville wrote about themes that everybody can relate to, and Melville is associated with a major work of American art that school children continue to read today everywhere, including here in New Bedford. And I'm going to have Stefanie explain her thinking behind that, and again, she will do it much more authoritatively than I. But there are a couple of other people that I wanted to thank here, and one of them is Bruce Olivera, who couldn't be here today, but Bruce, who's also a member of the school committee, as folks know, did a great job in understanding and helping orchestrate what we're going to do, which is to put the statue on the site of the Bethel, on the grounds of the Bethel. That's where it's going to go. It's going to go right out here on Johnny Cake Hill, featured prominently, and we're doing that not just because it will be a tourist attraction, although it will be, and it'll be one more reason for people to visit New Bedford. But more fundamentally than that, it will, in a place right here next to the Whaleman's Chapel in Chapter 7 of Moby-Dick, be a way of reflecting back on that time in New Bedford's history, a time when whaling created this city, and again, on those universal themes that Melville expressed in his work. The last thing I just want to say is, and again, this is very important. This is a way for New Bedford to assert itself in the same way that we have, frankly, the greatest claim on Melville. He lived in lots of places. He lived in Manhattan, lived in Pittsfield. He wrote much of the book in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. This is the setting for Moby-Dick, on land at least. And so there should be something here, much in the same way that 2 years ago, the city, with the help of the New Bedford Historical Society, established at long last the Frederick Douglass statue here. Again, Frederick Douglass lived in lots of places, but it was in New Bedford that he arrived in more ways than one, where he took refuge from slavery, where he established himself, where he first worked, where he established a family. This was Frederick Douglass's home. And for us, this is all an act of proclaiming, and again, this isn't about tourism, although frankly we'll take every tourist that is willing to come to New Bedford and spend money here, but this is fundamentally a way of New Bedford proclaiming its identity, proclaiming something great about its past, and showing off to the world that this is an important place, not just now, but in the long history of the United States. So with all that, we have a couple of other speakers, and but before then, I want to do the big reveal. So I think we're ready, and I hope I don't mess this up. But bear with me 1 second. I think I should say ta-da or something like that, but you get the point. I hope you like it as much as I, and it is worth taking in and taking a long look at. We'll of course make electronic versions of this available to everybody, but before I try to put any kind of gloss on it, I wanted to introduce Stefanie Rocknak, the artist herself, who has a very accomplished history. She has had her work displayed in the Smithsonian. She has a very prominent statue, created a very prominent statue of Edgar Allan Poe that sits in Boston, near the Boston Common. and has had her works displayed in many prominent museums around the United States and beyond. And what she's and I can't emphasize enough there were other contestants that were incredibly accomplished, and so but this particular work, this particular concept, this particular vision really stood out to the committee. Frankly, it stood out to me as well, and we can't wait to see it in the proverbial flesh. But without any further ado, I think we've got Stefanie on the line who can address this much better than I ever could.
Hi everyone, I wish I could be there with you today, but unfortunately I'm getting over COVID, so I didn't make the trip, and hopefully I won't cough too much. And thank you for that introduction from Mayor Mitchell. I didn't hear any of it, but I'm sure that was really so nice as well. I had always loved Melville. My fascination began from my time as an American Studies major at Colby College in Maine. I even drew a picture of Billy Budd and hung him on the dorm wall when I was a sophomore in college at Enjoy all year. So when the opportunity arose to sculpt Melville for New Bedford, I laughed at the chance. New Bedford is undisputably at the heart of Moby-Dick, the place where Melville's transformative journey began. Sorry. Its historical and literary significance, both to him and to American literature, makes this project really meaningful to me. To create a sculpture of one of my literary heroes in a city that inspired his greatest work is truly an honor. So, thank you. The concept came to me while rereading Moby-Dick. I read it during the summer while I was in college. When I learned the sculpture would stand next to the Seamen Bethel, I knew that I had to connect it to Father Mappin's iconic sermon, especially to him about Jonah and the whale. Melville's like Jonah, someone who journeys into the depths, is transformed, and returns to share his truth. The sculpture reflects this transformation. Melville stands beside three towering whale heads, symbolizing his journey into and out of the whale. His mouth is open as if he's emerging to tell the story of Moby-Dick. And New Bedford. The hymn will be engraved on a circular granite base, grounding the piece in its spiritual and literary context, as well as New Bedford. So thanks again. And if you have any questions, they should be relayed to me through Jonathan.
All right, Stefanie, I really wanted to thank you. We can't wait to see you. We appreciate that you're engaging in appropriate social distancing today, but we miss you, and I hope you get better swiftly. But we can't wait for you to get started. So let me just say a couple of other things about some of the nuts and bolts of this. I'm sure people will have questions about the funding of this work. So the estimated budget is about $300,000. It'll be paid for through a combination of funds raised by the Port Society, as well as some public funds, Community Preservation Act in particular. All that will be worked through, but the overall budget will be about $300,000, which is about typical for a work of this size by an artist of this caliber. The other thing I just want to say is just a couple of other points. It'll take about a year, 12 to 15 months to do. There will be work on the grounds here that will make it look just so. The Department of Public Infrastructure will help with some of the foundational work, and we look forward to that happening. So we're looking at early 2026 to do a real unveiling. But in the meantime, I would just ask everybody to spread the word. We certainly want to drum up private donations, and you can go right to the Port Authority's website for that. But and I thank you, Phil, for all of your help in getting this going and supporting the overall effort. The Whaling Museum will be doing its marathon this weekend. I'll be reading more or less the same thing I just recited. So if you want to skip chapter 6, you already know what it says. And the other thing I'll just say is I really appreciate the support of the City Council, as well as our state delegation. Chris Hendricks is here on behalf of the state delegation today, a big supporter of public art and tourism in the city and all these things that this is part of. So Chris, thank you for all of that support. And I want to just thank, again, Bruce Oliveira, who couldn't be here today, Tony Sapienza, the chair of the Whaling Museum, as well as the chair of the Economic Development Council, as well as here in support. With all that, there are a couple of other people that I wanted to call up really quickly. So Phil, I'll call you up, or it's Alexandra. Alexandra Copeland, who is the art curator of the New Bedford Public Library, which of course has its own substantial collection of art, is here with us, and I just ask her to come on up and say a few words.
Hello, I'll be quick. So I wanted to start today by saying thank you to the Mayor's Office and to our other committee members for inviting me to be part of this process. As the art curator for the New Bedford Free Public Library, I'm the caretaker for two pieces of public sculpture, the sculpture of Lewis Temple and the Whalemen. In preparing my remarks today, I looked at the Americans for the Arts paper on why public art matters, and I felt that a passage of that would be interesting to share. Public art activates the imagination and encourages people to pay attention and perceive more deeply the environment they occupy. Public art stimulates learning and thought about art and society, about our interconnected lives, and about the social sphere as a whole. Public art is uniquely accessible, and it enables people to experience art in the course of daily life, outside of museums or other cultural institutions. Public art provides everyone in the community direct and ongoing encounters with art and engages social interaction both during the selection process and following installation. And an artwork can lead the viewer towards self-reflection and awareness. One of our missions at the library is to inspire lifelong learners, and I feel that the access to art within our community is instrumental in that goal. When the committee first began reviewing submissions for this project, we started with 41 talented and inspiring artists from across the country and close to home. All of these artists went through several rounds of evaluation, focusing on demonstrated understanding of the project and its goals, quality and depth of experience, and the substance of the proposal, among other criteria. Once we narrowed down from 41 to 4, the artists were asked to create a model and present to the committee. Among these proposals, Stefanie Rocknak's design stood out immediately for its dynamic forms and ambitious scale. And through the interview process with her, the committee heard more about her vision for the project and her goals. We were impressed with her ability to visually connect Melville with the specter of the whale, and appreciated the site-specific details that placed the statue firmly on the grounds of the Bethel. The committee is very confident in Ms. Rocknak's ability to create the sculpture which honors Melville and New Bedford's part in his story. And I feel it will become a cherished landmark which complements the other bronzes that populate our historic downtown area.
Thank you, Alexandra. Last, I just want to again call Phil Oliveira back up to close this out. A few words about the Bethel. I mean, the Bethel is a special place. It is really in many ways. Of course, it's the Whaleman's Chapel from Moby-Dick, famously, but it's also really a shrine to New Bedford's maritime history. As you can see, with all if you haven't been here before, all the cenotaphs to whalemen and fishermen who were lost at sea. But it is often used altogether too often used as a site for memorial services, especially when fishermen are lost at sea. And so it really holds a hallowed place in Greater New Bedford for that reason. And I'm so grateful that the Port Society stewards this building so well. Again, Phil Oliveira and his brother Bruce, as well as the late Fred Toomey, did such a wonderful job restoring this building the way it ought to look, and it looks fantastic now. And it is a place that is, even though it is 200 years old, it is growing. It is growing in prominence in the city and region, not just a tourist attraction, but also as a cultural center. And so we're really grateful for that, Phil. And so just ask you to come on up and say a few words.
So thank you all for coming. As Mayor Mitchell said, the Bethel was built in 1832. So it's been here for 192 years, celebrating events like this. But its main mission is to commemorate the loss of our fishermen at sea. You'll see, if you have time, you can see the cenotaphs and the tablets. Anyone from this port of New Bedford that's lost at sea. We will commemorate them here, and we preserve these tablets and cenotaphs for now 192 years. Herman Melville actually sat back in the pew that's labeled here, back when he was here contemplating his novel, I'm sure. But really want to support and thank the mayor for his support of the arts in the city and continuing to make New Bedford relevant because we are and we have been relevant throughout history. The Bethel is a clear example of that. Also would like to thank the board of the Bethel. This is a nonprofit organization. So the New Bedford Port Society was formed in 1830 for the purpose of looking after the interests of the fishermen when they came into port to provide them some solace and some place to. The Mariner's Home used to be a boarding house. If you arrived in the port of New Bedford and needed a place, you could stay there. But it's been here for a long time. It's been prominent. It's been within the arts as well as its main mission. But I'd like to thank the board of the New Bedford Port Society for supporting this initiative, and more importantly, Bruce Oliver, my brother, for bringing it to us. I was in Vermont last year when I got the call. You know, we have an opportunity, and it was a great opportunity. And he has gone through some challenges, but he stayed on the committee to help make the decisions. And I thank the committee that selected this wonderful artist for what's going to be put here on the site. And of course, Chris Hendricks is actually on the board as a member of the New Bedford Port Society, as well as one of our delegates. So thank you, Mayor Mitchell, for all the great things you're doing in the city for the arts and others, many other things. And thank you all for coming to this hallowed ground here that we celebrate. This is one of those moments in history that there have been many at the Bethel. So thank you all for coming.
I can take questions if anybody has any. And if you don't, that's okay too. Go ahead, Frank.
How large is it?
Yeah, how large is it?
7 feet.
Is it 7 feet?
And material is?
He wasn't that tall, Frank. It would have been uncomfortable on a whaling vessel to be 7 feet tall.
I've got all the specs.
Yeah, we can get all the specs. Yep. He was about 5'10". Oh, okay. Anyone else? Nothing, Jack. All right, thank you, everybody. We can't wait to see it in the flesh.